Hey everybody, what's happening around here? I'm Tommy, and this is the Love Boat. Just Joan, good to see you. Ash Bash, what's happening? Sandy Wandy, how you been? Barbara Aldrich, good to see you. I assume Jane is probably nearby. Hello, Jane. Sandy Wandy is here. Honey is here. Good to have you. KM and Brock Bandy. The two of them, you could go yard. I'm telling you, that's all the wrench anyone would ever need. You guys rock. Appreciate you. I really do. I'm glad to be seen. Hey, it's Monk. Monk. Hello, Heather. Glad you are here. So this is one of those backed by popular demand things. And you know something? If you've watched the boat for any length of time, when it was the lifeboat or the love boat, you're probably aware of the fact that one of my least favorite things is the ability to say, "I told you so." I can't back that up. I love saying that. Carolina, Canada, good to see you. I told you so. A lot of people ask for Diddy content. And today, when the word started to leak out that Diddy got in trouble in prison, people wanted to know if it was BS. And I got a lot of emails, and it is not BS. Diddy got busted. So, and I will tell you all about it because there's some very interesting stuff about this that they're not reporting in the press. People believe that Diddy has no repercussions because of who he is. And he could probably get away with getting 200 and 300 or 400 series shots. Those are write-ups. They don't call them write-ups in federal prison. They're called getting a shot. And shots come from a 100, which is the gnarliest shot that you could ever be busted for. That's actually taking someone's life. That's what a 100 is. But a 112 and a 113, that's what they called them when I was there. Apparently they modified it. It's now a 117 or a 118 because they broke drugs and alcohol into two different categories. But a 112 or a 113, which is what the felons still call it, the fellas. Hey, Barbara Wade, good to see you. Mustang, what's happening? They still call it that because they've been saying it for years, and it's how cops talk. It's how everybody talks. But a 112 or a 113 is you got busted with alcohol. You were either making it yourself or you purchased it. And this is alcohol that is obviously made in a toilet, right? And from all reports, and I've chased these down, it isn't just TMZ because I don't have a lot of faith in them, but there are some very legitimate reports on this. Apparently they make it with soda. And I know a lot of people were a lot of people think that sounds odd. It's not. What they do is they'll take 12 cans of soda or 24 cans of soda and they'll put them into a trash can. And then they take what's called a stinger. If you can imagine cutting the cord that goes from your lamp to the wall, cutting the end of it off and pulling the two wires out, right? So now you have a hot and you have a cold. And between those two things, you should have a coil of wire that goes around. If you can't make that happen, you can tie it to either end of a set of nail clippers. And what's happening is you've completed the circuit. So now you plug that into the wall and you have electricity that's going through. And the fact that you have an exposed part of metal, you can throw this into a bucket of water, and it will boil in about 5 seconds. It's illegal to have stingers, but this is what they do. They boil off everything in there except the high fructose corn syrup. They're not interested in the liquid. They're interested in the sugar. Fermentation requires sugar. It is difficult to get, did I say Mustang? Did I screw somebody's name up? Oh, good. I hope not. So the idea is, hey, Wharton Fissel, good to see you. 11 days with no cigarettes. Are you kidding me? You're a beast. That's what I'm talking about. I'll tell you something, folks. That's one of the most difficult addictions in the world to beat. That's no joke. And I'll get back to the making of wine. But that's one of the most difficult things in the world to beat because of the delivery method. David, good to see you. It gets into your lungs, and instantly it takes the dopamine level in your blood and it doubles it. Doubles it. That's why you see people who get, who smoke and they get really panicky because they got to have that thing. It's a very difficult thing to break the habit of. Todd, everything is great. I'm glad that you are here. It's good to see you, my friend. I hope you're doing well. So what they do is they want the sugar for the purpose of getting the fermentation going. Then you need to have food of some kind to feed the bug, which is what the fellas call it, because you're literally just taking a bacteria, right? You're taking fruit that has already begun to rot, and then you put a bunch of sugar on top of that, and then you dump in things like fresh apples cut into sections. They usually try to get as much of the juice out as they can to use that, and then put apples on top of it, because all of these things have sugar content. If not, they use oranges, potato flakes, ketchup. You haven't lived until you've had a nice ketchup Merlot cooked in a toilet. Good stuff. Anyway, you throw that all in and you tie a bag tight and it expands out. Well, this time they were using Fanta and apples for the batch that Diddy got caught with. So Diddy got busted, and you can't get all the details, but what you can find out is that he got busted for a drinking violation. So he could have been making it, doubtful, because he hasn't been there long enough to blow off a batch. But I would imagine that, and I said this is the, I absolutely said I told you so. He made a speech at his sentencing. Mechanic, good to see you. He made a speech at his sentencing that said, Your Honor, this is the first time in 25 years that I've been sober. I'm not mad at him, right? I mean, what are you going to do? Go in there and go, yeah, I'm still trying to get some dope. It's kind of hard to score in there. I mean, he's trying to put his best foot forward out there, and he paid a lot of money, and he's trying to go home. I'm not mad at the guy for doing that, but it doesn't look good when you make the I'm 25 years sober for the first time in my life, for the first time in 25 years I'm sober, and then you immediately hit a yard and buy some booze and start drinking it. Not good. Now, here's how punishment goes on a 112 and a 113, right? Possession of alcohol or manufacturing of alcohol. If you get one of those shots, there's a couple of things that are going to happen, but there's discretion for how badly they can screw you over. But I promise you, he's going to lose 27 days of good time. The first time you screw up with drugs or alcohol, you're going to lose 27 days of good time. That may not sound like a lot. That's 14%, right? 14% of all the good time he's going to get. Mechanic says, I stopped drinking hard booze since, but I still drink beer. That's harm reduction, man. Seriously, the model of everybody needs to stop everything they're doing immediately causes more people to continue to do drugs than it does help people. And I was really against it for a really long time. But nevertheless, I have seen this now throughout my time here. My son came home Wednesday. He'll be in the halfway house till May. I am so happy right now. Congratulations. How cool is that? Man, your son is stoked. There's not much better than walking out. As horrific as the experience is, everyone should realize how valuable freedom is. The freedom sometimes is wasted on people who are free. They have no appreciation for just how amazing it is to step outside and get rained on or do anything that you want to do when you want to do it. It's I couldn't be any happier for him. And congratulations for you too. That's got to feel fantastic. Congratulations. If you need questions, if he has questions, if there's anything that I can do to help, just shoot me an email at tommyscoble@gmail.com. Put big as hell in the title though, what it is, because it's, I don't get to emails the way I used to anymore, but there are certain things that I would make sure that, like people that are in trouble with chemicals, if I can't help them, I'm going to make sure that at least somebody else does. But people getting out of a halfway house, I would be more than happy to put my time in. That's a pretty valuable thing. So Diddy gets caught. He's going to lose 27 days of good time. That's 14% of all the good time that he has the potential to earn over the course of his sentence. That's getting kicked right in the slats. It's a very difficult thing to have happen to you your first 5 days on the yard. That's a bummer, right? That is a bummer. But on top of that, they now have the right to take away your phone. They could take away your computer, and that doesn't mean you're surfing the web. It means that you can send emails. It's a dedicated email server, right? But you can lose the ability to do emails. They can take away your phone. They can take away your store, your ability to buy stuff. More than likely, that's what they're going to take first. And they won't take it for a long time. It'll be 30 days or something like that. It's the idea being, if you're in there getting drunk, you had to pay for the booze. And there's only a couple of ways you can do that. You're going to have people from the street send money into somebody, or you say to them, I'll give you $50 worth of store. You give me a bottle of wine or 2 bottles of wine or whatever it's going for there. My understanding from talking to some fellas is that Mustang is hitting 2 years sober and having a tough night. Well, you know something? That's kind of part of the game. Tough nights are really a bummer. Here's the things that got me through when I was really having a bad night, or I was having a bad time, period. The most difficult thing is that we got to stop staring at the same 4 walls. We have in the game what we call ants, right? Those are automatic negative thoughts. And your brain is not your friend. It just simply isn't. And I know that we grow up thinking that the brain is so much a part of us. Your consciousness and your brain, and I've seen this now for a really long time with people who use, your brain is trying to get you to use. If your drug of choice was a painkiller, this makes a lot of sense to you. because as you quit, you get off of the withdrawal sickness and you're like, man, I'm doing great. And when you start getting into things that life feels like it's really beating on you, your knees are going to hurt. Anywhere you had surgery, because your brain is going, if I piss off that right knee enough, this dude's going to eat some Vicodin, or this dude's going to go get a bag of dope. And once you realize that the brain is not your friend, then you can do a little bit more research and you can find that, believe it or not, Mustang and everyone else, those cravings, that thing where you just go, oh man, today's a day that I would really like to do this. And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. Those are normal. It's going to happen. But they don't last more than 15 minutes. That is actually a scientific fact. The thing is, we don't, and I know people are going to send me emails and go, no, man, it happens to me all day long. That's because at no point during the 15 minutes do you cut it off, right? If you cut it off after 15 minutes, so how do you cut it off? And what I mean by that is, like, you can continue to do it all day long, because every time you start with a new thought and the automatic negative thoughts start beating on you, then it just keeps you going down that rabbit hole where you're like, I'm a loser, my mom didn't love me, my brother's a better looking guy than me. And you'd start doing all of these things. No wonder every girl I've ever been with walked away. And it just starts feeling a lot like a drug would take all of that away. Get out, right? If it's just onto a balcony, if it's just in front of your front door, all of your five senses, right? What you look at, what you hear, all of these things. If you're sitting and staring at the same four walls, you start to beat on yourself. The automatic negative thoughts go into turbo drive, right? So what you want to do is go outside. You're going to smell things that are different. And I go for walks, right? If I start feeling that way, I go for a walk. And one of the things that happens is, as I'm walking, right, and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, man, this has just been a crap day. In fact, it's been a crap week. And then a dog runs by and you go, oh, man, it's a dog. You know what that dog looks like? And your brain will start doing things and looking at all of this new imagery and hearing sounds you haven't heard, smelling things that don't smell like the inside of your house, right? And whether you realize it or not, we taste air. If you don't believe that, do a little time, right? You walk into a prison, you can taste it. It's absolutely horrendous. So get out there and change up your five senses. And the other thing is absolutely 100% what you're doing right now, whether you're doing it online, whether you call someone that you care about. But connection is the opposite of addiction, right? The opposite of addiction is not sobriety. It isn't. It would be lovely if that were the case. It's not. The opposite of addiction is connection. And if you can absolutely connect with somebody on a real level where you start talking to them and they go back and forth and ask questions, it's astounding what a difficult time it is as a human being to keep automatic negative thoughts going in your head while someone's engaging you, while someone is talking to you and actually caring. It's very difficult because automatic negative thoughts require some things. They require silence. They require desperation, right? So that you have the ability to concentrate on just what a rotten human you are. And I got news for you. That just simply isn't the truth. This is the kind of thinking that puts us back into a spoon or a bottle of bourbon, or whatever your particular poison is, right? Because they're all the same. And you know what? If you're listening to me and going, man, I've never had a poison, trust and believe you do. Right? We know now things that we didn't know before. We know that this bad boy right here, this thing will absolutely give you dopamine hits, just like you're snorting something off a table. Video games do it. We get it off of cat videos. Not that that's an awful thing, but I promise you it's a fact. So if you can change your environment, you can change what you're doing. The other thing to remember is this. When emotions are kicking the ever-loving crap out of you, right, then you need to turn off the emotional part of your brain. And it's easy to go, well, that sounds great, right? It's an easy thing to say. Get a notebook, sit down, put a pen in your hand and start writing. To make all of that happen, to make the thoughts turn into letters and into words that you put down on a piece of paper, you're going to have to kick into high gear, the executive part of your brain. You hear me? If you're kicking the executive part of your brain into gear, then the emotional part of your brain needs to kind of kick back for a minute while that's happening. So if you're really hurting, spend 3 hours journaling, because you're not going to have automatic negative thoughts while you're writing stuff out. People always say, he's multitasking. I got news for you. You cannot think two thoughts at once. It's a scientific fact. Sounds great. Like you can dance back and forth, and there are people that can do some wild things, but the human mind cannot create two thoughts at the same time. So if you're having negative thoughts that are making you feel like this is going to work you over, well, then you need to replace those thoughts with some other ones. And if it were me, I'd be going 365 times 2. Now, I was told there'd be no math, right? But isn't that like 730 or something? That's a hell of a lot of days that you got through, right? And I'll be honest with you, I've been doing this a hot minute. The first 90 are the rugged ones. You get through the first 90. Now what you're doing is building a toolkit to continue this process going. And the toolkits are simple tricks, most of them. get outside, right? Walk, do something to change your environment. By the way, these are all cliches, but cliches are the way they are for a reason. If you're hungry, you're angry, you're lonely, or you're tired, then you need to start going into that toolbox, right? Feed yourself. Make sure you're eating 3 meals a day. Try to get enough sleep. These things are really kind of the backbone of living a life of recovery. But the feelings that you're getting are normal. Rip, good to see you, man. These are very normal feelings, and you shouldn't be, don't beat yourself up for having them, right? Automatic negative thoughts suck. If you can just keep yourself engaged in the connection part of life, then this will get better. And if I don't run people off talking about this, then we'll do some shows on it. I love talking about it. It's just a difficult way to keep a channel going. More often than not, I'm running people off, which is kind of a bummer. But so Diddy's problem is alcohol, at least the one that he just did. He's going to lose 27 days of good time. If he were any other inmate, and I don't mean because he is spoiled, I mean because of his proximity to, hey, Scott, good to see you. His proximity to the Southern District of New York, where he has dozens of pending lawsuits, depending on who you believe, as many as 70. But there's a crap load of lawsuits, and they're going to have to, figure out a way to get him there all the time. They didn't put him in Fort Dix because they wanted to hook him up. They put him in Fort Dix because there was only a couple of prisons that were going to be really close to the federal courthouse in the Southern District of New York. And you know what's going to bum old Diddy out? They may run him from Fort Dix over to the courthouse and then run him back at the end of the day. But if he's going to be testifying for 4 or 5 days in a row, I got news for you. He's going to be staying at MDC Brooklyn. And it's going to bum him out. Hey, thank you, my brother. This is another guy that talks an awful lot about the same kind of stuff and has been there and done that. Yes, Diddy did get a write-up, or a shot, as we call it in federal prison. He got a 112. 100 being the most serious of crimes. 400 series, so 400 up to 499 would be the least serious. That's like having cardboard in your cell. A 300 series shot is like using someone else's pack number, like Diddy was doing. But he was doing it at MDC Brooklyn. And I know that seems like the feds, but it's a county jail waiting to go to the feds. So you're not getting written up at MDC Brooklyn. I mean, unless you're stabbing somebody, because you're not even technically Bureau of Prison property yet. You get a lot of leeway to do stupid stuff while you're waiting to go to the feds. Once you hit the feds, you're in deep trouble. KM, I will be doing 3 shows a day for the holidays. I promise you, I do it every year. This is the connection channel during the holidays, because there's a lot of people that don't have the ability to connect. So we do a lot of shows during the holidays. It's the toughest time of the year to stay sober, and I will be doing that. You have my word. Thanks again, Will. Appreciate you, man. And if you have not checked out Will's channel, one of my wrenches can put Will's channel up there. You should go over and check it out. He is lifeboat-ish. Love boatish? It's boatish. Hey, Jeremy Fowler, good to see you. So this is the first of a run for him now, because as I said, and I told you guys this was going to happen. I said, Neutralizer, good to see you. You're new. Welcome to the boat. Glad that you are here. Well, we talk about everything. Hang out. We talk about some sobriety, but today we're talking about P. Diddy. I did a lot on P. Diddy during the build up to the trial. And these days we try to come on here and just sort of counter all of the BS that people put out, because a lot of people run with stories on him that don't have anything to back it up. He absolutely got busted for alcohol. They were making it with Fanta, right? Probably boiling off the water, not just throwing it inside a Fanta bottle. That's counterproductive. There are things in there like preservatives and stuff that doesn't really work very well in terms of making hooch, right? You don't want preservatives in there. You're trying to get it to turn. You're trying to get the fruit and everything in there to rot. So normally they stinger off everything except the high fructose corn syrup. They'll do it out of a 12-pack or a case, and then you dump that sludge into a plastic bag. You throw the apples in. You throw in what's called a kicker, and usually you grab this from some other convict who's making a bag of wine. And if he just gives you a rotten piece of fruit out of it, you throw that into your bag and everything goes good. If that doesn't work, you can buy a sponge that's never been used and dunk it in the booze, let it dry out, and cut it into squares. And every time you make a bag, you can take one of those little squares, because all you're really doing is capturing yeast, right? So once this starts to turn, once this starts to bubble, you're at risk of the bag exploding. So you have to go check this thing constantly and do what they call burping it, which is letting out all of that gas. It's probably not the most polite way to put it, but the bug gets in there and it eats sugar and it farts alcohol. So the bag just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Tommy Scoville, felt so good to look on a BOP website and see not in federal custody. I was afraid I was looking. Yeah, you know something? I remember friends and family telling me the same thing, that they got up in the morning and looked and it said I was no longer in federal custody. And it certainly gets the blood going. It's a beautiful thing to leave. It really is. It's a beautiful thing to leave. Glad he is at the halfway house. That is awesome. It really is. Yeah, Mechanic says, I tried some of that on a carrier once. Gross. I'll tell you what, every once in a while, you'll come across somebody that actually cares about making wine that tastes good. For the most part, though, they would drink battery acid if they have to. Where does the inmate go to the bathroom while the booze ferments? That's a great question, because they do call this toilet Merlot, and we do say that we cook it in the toilet. Let me explain to you what that means. You take the bag, which has you tie a knot in it, right, so it can expand out. And you're capturing all of that and turning it into alcohol. You then take that and put it in another bag in case there's a leak or anything else. That goes into the toilet. And then normally you'll put a little something over the top of it. But the reason you do that is, you've seen the metal toilets. I used one of them in the image for my thumbnail, right? Those they're usually made by a company called Willoughby. Sad that I know that. But if you jam the hot water on, and the way that you do that is because you have to hold the button in. So you take something like this, right, that you take off of the top of a bag of coffee or whatever, and you make it into a U shape, and you jam it just above it so that the hot water stays on. And you leave the hot water on 24 hours a day, and you throw the bag of wine in there. Now, instead of the bag of wine cooking, it's turbo cooking, because the hotter the temperature, you don't want to boil it because you'll kill the bacteria. But if you can keep it at 90 degrees, 85, 90 degrees, the bag will cook in 4 days instead of 7 or 8. But yeah, so what you do is when you need to use the restroom, you pick the bag out, set it down on a towel, then you pick it back up. Some people who don't do that, or they're afraid it's going to get too hot at night, because that's a possibility. Some guys will literally sleep with it. Like they'll get that bag and put it in front of them, right, and just sort of hold it while they sleep, because your 98 degrees is going to do a lot more than putting it on a cold concrete floor that's that thick, right? You know, those the floors in prisons are not generally warm. When I was at Lewisburg, the federal pen there, they had steam pipes, right? Everything is heated in there with steam pipes. Not every cell has them. Lost again, good to see you. But a lot of them do. And you could take a bag of wine and tuck it behind that pipe. In fact, you could cook grilled cheese sandwiches on that pipe. But if you would put wine on, you'd put it on there for like 15 minutes and then take it off and do that once an hour, and you would blow a batch off like that fast. But now that, yeah, the things that you learn, right? This is an educational program. But Diddy is going to probably lose phone time. That's pretty realistic, because once you do a violation of this kind, normally you're going straight to the shoe. You're going to do between 30 to 60 days in the shoe, and almost 100 out of 100 times, you're going to a new prison. They're going to be like, well, we gave you a shot at this really nice place, and the first thing you did was get chafazed on some Turlet Merlot. You're gone. And then they send you from an FCI low to an FCI medium. And this is why, you know, in a short sentence, you can end up on 9 different yards, because every time you get a good write-up, they're going to ship you off until you get to a United States penitentiary. You just got here. He got caught with an intoxicant. He got caught with, they call it Pruno a lot, which is funny because it's never made with prunes, but people call it Pruno. The felons just call it wine. The cops usually call it Pruno. But somebody made a bag of wine with apples and Fanta for sugar, and Diddy got caught with it. More than likely, you know, this is a guy that hasn't had a drink in 14 months. And you go in there, he's going to the shoe and being transferred. He should be. I don't think that's going to happen to him. As of this moment, I was able to verify that he is still in the dorm. If this isn't unheard of, I don't know how the shoe setup is at Fort Dix. I'll give you an example of what I mean. There are prisons that are on compounds, right? So if you're on a compound prison, they might not keep every single shoe open. Like there's no reason to have staff in a shoe that has 8 guys in it. And across the street, a segregated housing unit, a shoe that has 50 guys in it, they call it transegging. So you're at an FCI and there's a guy at a camp. And on the same day those two get busted, they send them to the USP because the camps and the FCIs aren't generating enough traffic to put people in the shoe, right? There's not the same kind of crime. The shoe is a segregated housing unit, the hole. You usually hear people call it the hole. It's the segregated housing unit. And you know what's funny? I was at a prison where they were repainting the wall every 15 minutes because of political correctness. I'm not making this up. But they said segregated sounded bad, so they got rid of it and put special housing unit. And people were like, special sounds bad. It's like you're picking on people who have special education or anything else. And I'm like, why don't you write whole? Just write the whole. Everybody knows that's what everybody calls it anyway. Warden Fissel, give him hell. I used to go to those machines all the time. Let him deal with the clank, 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 and always check the tray. You find really cool coins that people don't pick up because old coins will slide right through there. So you can find some silver and some other stuff. I used to go to those a lot when I was doing it hard. They still called it special when you worked there? Special housing unit, segregated housing unit. In the state joint, you can go to ADSEG, right? You can do this kind of in the feds too, but administrative segregation is when you might be under investigation. You haven't done anything wrong. Then there's disciplinary segregation. So the way this works is Diddy gets caught. Let's say it happened last night. He's going to get a write-up at about 12:30. They're going to slide it right underneath. Yeah, the box. A lot of people call it the box as well. They're going to slide it right underneath the door to him, and it's going to say what his write-up is. It's going to have his name on it. It's going to look just like a booking sheet from the outside, a little less fancy. But it's going to say what time it was. Now, they'll take whatever wine. If they caught wine, you don't have to be caught with it. They can just breathalyze you. Like they come in on holidays and ask 40 or 50 guys in the unit to blow a breathalyzer. And if it's the World Series or the Super Bowl, you're going to lose 10 or 15 friends because everybody's drunk on those holidays. But after he gets the write-up, within 7 days of getting that write-up, and they have 72 hours to get you the write-up, officially, your charges. After you get the charges, you're going to hear people say he can get an attorney in there. You can call witnesses. All of that's BS. It does say that in there. But if you call a witness in, no matter what the witness says, the disciplinary hearing officer, which is the judge, and you're going to see him on a television screen. He probably is not at Fort Dix. What they've done is thinned out the population, so there might be 5 or 10 of them across the United States to handle all of the prisons. So you go and sit in front of a camera. If you want to call a lawyer, which they call a rep, it has to be a staff member. In real prisons, you ain't calling a staff member like you're so close a friend with a cop. You're going to call him in to help you. The fellas aren't going to put up with that nicely. You can't call another inmate. It's a kangaroo court. It's an absolute kangaroo court. You will never, ever win anything there. But you're having charger problems. I'm sorry to hear that. But Archie's mom, I'm sorry to hear that. This is how it's going to go down. Within a week, he's going to go see the disciplinary hearing officer who's going to find him guilty, guaranteed. And he's going to say loss of good time credits, GTC. He's going to lose 27 days of good times credit. If he was already an idiot, right? And by that, he's obviously an idiot. I mean, if this is his second or third time, they have at their ability to take away 60 days of good time. It doesn't happen very often. If they catch a guy and he's got, 10 gallons of moonshine that he's, wine that he's cooking into moonshine, and when they go in, they find 2 different kinds of drugs, that's a guy that could end up losing 60 days at once. They will stack charges. So if Diddy was drunk, but then they found all of the stuff to make it, he could end up with more than one charge. It's probably not the case. Yeah, they could absolutely set him up. I think more than likely it's going to look like they're picking on him. It's just because he sticks out like Wednesday in the middle of the week. If you walk into a unit, you're going to be looking at him. Oh, absolutely. No, absolutely. But everybody's going to lose good time. In fact, if you're running and gunning, you're not going to get any good time. You're going to lose every. No, the hearing is not public info. However, there are leaks at Fort Dix, man, like no other places. We've seen pictures of him on the yard. Find me a picture of a federal inmate on a yard anywhere. That just doesn't happen. So there's somebody in there that's making money, and they're making money by sending this info to people like TMZ so that they can post the pictures. And keep in mind, if somebody is sitting, there are so many places you can look at a computer screen and see what's happening out there on the yard. But the people that are in the security office could do it. There are many different places within the prison that you can access those cameras from your computer. So even if you're working Unit 6, you can pop up and look at what's going on the yard in different places. And all they got to do is take a screenshot of that. And it's probably worth 10 grand, right? Maybe more than that. Yeah, leaks at the Pentagon, so they got rid of reporters. Well, if they find out who did this, they'll fire him. But yeah, most people lose good time at some point. There are people that don't. There are people that get through their entire sentence. If you're not going to lose it by accident, they're not going to do something to take it away from you. You've got to be a jughead. So, there are rules like you didn't make your bed. They're not going to lose good time for that. They could write you up for that. It's a 400 series shot, right? Wouldn't the attention from others make him feel good? Yeah, the attention from cops is going to be the problem. You walk into a unit as a cop and Sean Combs is in your unit, the first thing you're going to do is your eyes are going to go to Sean Combs. Not because you think he's doing something wrong, but because he's the only fascinating inmate. You know what I mean? To the people working there, we're all the same thing until somebody famous comes in. Yeah, they got that picture of Diddy on the yard by somebody leaking it. There's no other way to get that picture. And people go, well, it could have been from a drone. Try flying a drone over a federal prison. They've done things to make that considerably harder. It used to happen. The cops hate men like him. You're absolutely right. They do. Absolutely right. Lost Again says that the cops hate people like that. They do. And most of the inmates aren't going to like him either. He's in a situation where the way these dorms are set up, my understanding is that they're pod dorms. So they'll take the lockers and they'll have either 4 or 6 guys in a pod. So all of their lockers come in. So as the beds go with the lockers, it creates kind of a door. There's no door there, but there's an entrance. And you, out of a respect thing, you don't walk in there without saying, hey, is it cool if I come in? Wow, that's pretty cool, huh? Congrats. Jules Mark Davis says, I'm back. Did my 28 days and I'm sober 2 months and 7 days. That, you know what? That is the coolest thing I have heard in a long time. Can we get some deuces in the chat from a man? That is absolutely phenomenal. I shouldn't say for my man. I do that all the time. I call everybody that. This is an amazing thing. I hope that you realize how epic that first 2 months and 7 days. I was just talking about this a moment ago, but 90 days is about the most difficult time. I'm telling you, you make 10 years. Those first 90 days are going to be the ones that you have to work the hardest on. It's it's been a heck of a day for that. Congratulations. And I'm glad that you're back. And you know what? Sometimes programs are the best thing in the world. I went in for a program. It's about 8 years. It did absolute wonders for me. The first couple of times I went in, it didn't. It's an old cliche. Hello, Heather Rhodes, but you absolutely have to be ready to quit. Cindy G, good to see you. You have to be ready to quit. You really do. And that's one of the things you hear about recovery all the time that actually is true. But then the other ones are all myths. It's really hard. No, it's not. It's easy as hell to quit. To stay sober is completely different. But to quit, you just have to say, I'm not doing this tomorrow. And all the people that go, I just can't do that yet. It's like Q used to say to me, he would drop a pen on the ground and he'd go, try to pick that up. Right? Try. Think you could try to pick that up? You either pick something up or you don't. It's the same thing with drugs. You have to just get to a point where you're so fed up. And for most people, it's, I get to a point where in your life where you're like, I'm more afraid of staying wasted than I am of dealing with all of the stuff that's going to happen with withdrawal and everything else. Right? I'm more afraid of being me than I am trying to become somebody else. And when that happens, when you get to that juncture, then like my friend Meep says, I was so ready. Yeah, I was. I joke about it all the time, but if Q had said, I need you to cut your pinky off and mail it to Philadelphia, I probably would have done that, because I was, this is a guy that had what I wanted. He was at peace. He was sober. He just seemed to really have his life together. Nobody seemed to piss him off. I wanted what he had more than anything in the world. And I was willing to do whatever it was going to take to make that happen. So I did. But if you're not journaling, I promise you're not going to live your best life. Not try to be a jerk, but if you're not journaling, you're not going to live your best life. We have to have an external hard drive for our brain. Plain and simple, we do. We have to have the ability to turn off our emotions in times when they're not beneficial. And I'm not talking to junkies and alcoholics and coke fiends. I'm talking to everybody. And in case I didn't offend everyone, the tweakers are in there too, right? The pill heads. Did I leave anybody out? The burnouts. Sorry, I'm the nastiest of all of those. I was a junkie. And you know what? I would not want to ever lose the memory of that. I was doing junk. That's what I was doing, and then committing crime to get the junk. It's a pretty terrible lifestyle. Terrible lifestyle. So when he goes to the disciplinary hearing officer, this is Diddy. He sits down across from him, and the guy reads his charges, and then boom, right? It's a wrap. And he says, all right, here's what you're going to lose. Your good time credits, 27 days. Next thing that you're going to lose is I'm going to take away your phone for 30 days. I'm going to take away your store for 30 days. And this whole process takes 4 minutes. It's, you're as a person that ends up in a prison like that, you've been to court a bunch of times. And everything a judge does takes so long. You go in front of a disciplinary hearing officer and you just get the feeling he's going to see 150 people in one day. And that's about how much time he gives you. You got 2 minutes. And if you go, hey, I have a question. Yeah, well, fill out a BP-8. In prison, you have the Bureau of Prisons form, right? So BP-8, that's a formal complaint. You can go to the guy that runs your unit and say, hey, there's a guy that's pushing up on me. He's doing this, or the coffee, the coffee machine's broken. The hot water doesn't work. My cell doesn't have a light on. I've been complaining about it for weeks. If they don't fix it, then you go to a written format. It's called a BP-8. If that doesn't work, you do a BP-9, and it goes all the way to 13. And you can go all the way to 13. It's never going to benefit you anyway. I had a patient who was a heroin addict. He said smoking was harder to quit. Is that BS? Absolutely not. It is so much harder to quit smoking than it is shooting. That's an absolute fact. I have quit it in both ways. I've also quit doing both. Mike Bragg says drugs will mess up your life and all of your loved ones up so much you just don't know how bad. It's the truth. I don't know that he made wine. I don't think he was there long enough to make wine. What he did was consume wine. And Wharton was doing 1.5 to 2 packs a day. And you quit with 19 left in your pack. That is the coolest thing I've heard in a long time. I know a guy, a close friend of mine. In fact, he comes on the boat, but I'm not going to out him. But he has with him at all times like an airplane bottle of vodka. Carries it with him, especially anytime a situation really stresses him out. We were in a situation where he was going, hey, good to see you, Bill. He was going to have to go in and testify, not because he had done anything wrong. And just put himself in a position where he was going to be stressed out to beat hell. And little glass bottle, that one happened to be Absolute. Keeps it on the inside pocket of his jacket. And he's been sober a long time. He was a distributor for a beer company for a long time. Had a really bad problem. I knew another guy that carried a pack of cigarettes. Knew another dude that carried a pack of cigarettes. Always had it on him, just in case he decided he wanted to fire it back up. Ray J, it's not that I don't think they can move him, right? And what I mean by that is, first of all, it's going to be $34,000. Oh, he gets consequences. If Diddy gets no consequences from this could lead to anger, resentment from other inmates. Hope so. Yeah, he's going to lose good time. The fact that they don't ship him is going to make everybody side-eye him. Because if it was anyone else in there, more than likely they would ship him. So, yeah, it's a great question, too. But they're going to end up side-eyeing him. It costs about $36,000, between $34,000 and $36,000 to move an inmate from one yard to another. They go on an airplane. It's called Con Air. Doesn't look like the one from the movie, but it's a very expensive process. But this wasn't a TMZ report. Well, TMZ did report it. I don't believe anything TMZ says, Ray J. I don't. But I assure you, there are reporting agencies on this considerably better than TMZ. If you call a prison and ask them anything about anything that happens, if you call them and say, I understand there was a death on your prison yard, they're going to say, I don't know what you're talking about. It is policy for them to never answer anything about an inmate that is inside. You did when Jared from Subway got beat up, that leaked on TMZ. They actually had a picture of the guy's ID, and then they called the prison, and the prison denied it. They're always going to deny it. They can't risk telling you what's up. My old cellmate, you guys can look him up on the Bureau of Prisons, because this is actually kind of fascinating. But Ray J, if you were on his legal team, would you say it was true? You think it's going to benefit his legal team who are trying to scream for appeals to come out and say, oh yeah, no, he got busted drinking. He got busted drinking. Again, I'm not trying to, but the prison is not going to confirm it. And your legal team's job is to never make you look bad. They're doing everything they can to try to make Diddy look like he's now a model human being. the TMZ in particular, TMZ leaked how many stories in a row about he's about to get pardoned by the White House. Their trial balloons. They're doing what they can to try to get the society to not hate him as much. Well, here's the thing. If the fellas set him up, it would be a difficult thing to get a write-up on, because my understanding is he was not set up. They couldn't have set him up for making it, right? He just got there. It would take it's a process. It would take a long time to, 8-9 days to make a bag of wine. If you're making it from scratch without a kicker, it'd be even longer than that. Could it be that the fellas set him up to see how the guards would handle it? I think more than likely it's a case of him drinking. I think that's more than likely what it is. If it was wine, they could set him up. I mean, I guess the fellas could get him drunk and then tell on him. Hey, Reese, good to see you. I didn't see you come in. There she is. Just dropped in to brag about myself and wallow proudly. Love you all. Have a great night. You know something, Wharton? You came to the right place. I'm glad that you did it. Here's the thing about sources. Again, I'm not trying to be a ball buster, but I did a show on TMZ just the other night, and stories that originate from TMZ, like we would say that the story of the razor blade to the throat originated from TMZ, but 3 different places broke it the same day. When they said the story about the White House, at the exact same time, a story was breaking on the other side of the pond with a completely different take on it. Nobody but nobody. Nobody but nobody. Hold on one second. JLR investigates. I don't know who that is. JLR, huh? But he was at. TMZ never has to worry about putting a correction in. I mean, I covered what I did 5 stories the other night. In no case did they come out and go, boy, we blew that. We don't live in that era anymore. And if somebody does do an apology, they'll come out and do a story, and then with 3 minutes left at the end of a show, they'll come out and go, hey, the other day we kind of blew that story on. But they'll run with the headlines because that's what makes money. We live in a click world. I mean, it sucks, but we live in a click world. We really do. Back to shipping him. This guy has to continually get moved to the Southern District of New York for all of these pending cases that are coming up, dozens of them. It's going to be the Bureau of Prison having to get him from wherever he's at to the courthouse. Yeah, the TMZ is absolutely pro Diddy, and it wouldn't be. You'd have to be. I'm sorry, but you'd have to be dim-witted to not see it. And you've got Mark Garagos doing a show, right, with Harvey Levin. That to me is a conflict of interest, because Garagos, not only is his daughter the one of the lead attorneys on Diddy's case, but Garagos himself is an advisor to Diddy. If they didn't get around, he could have been censured. He could have been in deep trouble, Garagos, because he leaked stuff on TMZ that never should have happened. But if he was an employee of TMZ, they would have had trouble. And the gray area is he has his own podcast. So they were both just doing their thing. He's not paid by them. I would kiss your butt in the window of Macy's if he's not getting some kind of compensation. Or he's just the conduit that's giving TMZ a crapload of compensation from Diddy. I have nothing to back that up but opinion, by the way. Nothing to back that up. But there's nobody else out there that is doing content on Diddy that doesn't talk about the fact that this dude's a rapist. This guy's got tons of open cases against him. There are people all over the place that are actively trying to do stories so that, we don't lose sight of who this guy is because of how the trial ended, right? Because of how that trial. Oh yeah, the civil suits are absolutely going forward. And the vast majority of them are going forward in the Southern District of New York, which is why they needed to keep Diddy. Normally, and I don't care what anybody tells you, normally the BOP ships your butt wherever they want. He could have ended up in California. He could have ended up anywhere, right? But then they're going to have to pay to transport him back every time he needs to go for a deposition or he needs to go to court for one of these lawsuits. And there's a grip of them. There's not the Busby's, 1,300 or 150 cases or whatever, but there's still a lot of them moving forward. Depending on who you believe, somewhere between 70 and 100, 77, I think is the bottom number that people say. They are a joke with flip-flopping, but to me, the only time they go in the direction against Diddy is when they can't avoid it. And everything else, they just keep downplaying. Hey, he only got caught for for the Mann Act. He didn't get caught for this big stuff. And here he is, he's in such danger. We got to get him out. And the White House is about to pardon him. And all these things that are just getting society to look at Diddy a little different, right? They wanted to see what was going to happen if they ran a story saying that he was about to get pardoned. Yeah, if I miss something, I only look for Q's and C's because you guys are moving by at a pretty quick rate, so I apologize. But can they just let him appear via Zoom? There's precedence for that. Susie Q's, good to see you. There's precedent for that. When I was at in Terre Haute, the federal prison in Terre Haute, there was one of the terrorists from the original bombing of the World Trade Centers. Not when they flew planes into it. Yeah, you know what? Lost again. If you're struggling, there is a toolkit that most people who remain sober and happy have to go to when they're having bad days. Get outside, change your environment, right? Look at something different, smell something different, all of those things, hear something different. When you stare at the same four walls, automatic negative thoughts take over the brain. They start running away with you. So you got to do whatever you can to not have a negative thought. It's your brain that ends up fighting against you. So since we know scientifically you can't have two thoughts at the same time, then automatic negative thoughts need to be replaced with something more positive. And usually the easiest way to do that is to change your senses. Your sense of smell, your sense of taste, all of those things. And if you're hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, take care of that. Eat. Make sure you're eating, 3 meals a day would be ideal. If you can't do that, then, make sure you're at least getting enough nutrition, because if you're not, it's really difficult to stay sober if you're hungry. It really will drive you back to what comfort is. And, for drug addicts, comfort doesn't come from food. But that feeling of needing something is so universal that if you're needing food, the ants are going to just take that and be like, that's not what you need. Yeah, protein powder. I have a huge bag of it over here. I am a firm believer in protein powder for days that you can't, like if you're running out of time, it's really easy to whip up a protein shake, and having protein in your body is a huge thing. Yeah. Anhedonia is a very real thing, and it happens to drug addicts a lot. It means the inability to feel emotion, positive or negative, right? That's a real thing. It does happen. Yeah, then that is absolutely a thing. Anhedonia is tough. Now, depending on what your drug of choice was, methamphetamines is, we see anhedonia a lot with people that used meth. And the reason is, your body releases so much of your own chemical when you use meth that if you do it long enough, when you quit, your body just goes, wow, there's no reason to release any oxytocin or any dopamine or any of these things, because they're going to throw a switch here pretty quick, right? Or 10 and 2, they're going to throw a switch, and then we'll know to release all those chemicals. It's one of the reasons that people who do it long term really struggle to get off of it. And you can't have two thoughts at the same time, right? You can't. Absolutely, nebulizer. Protein powder. It's not even so much the protein powder. It's making sure that your nutrition is balanced. Anything, so smoking cessation. Smoking is one of the most difficult things to quit. And I was saying this earlier. The reason is the delivery method of your lungs is a better delivery method than anything else. Believe it or not, that's the truth. Even shooting stuff into a vein, you're going to get it into your body in a more efficient way by smoking it. When you smoke it, picture a train going by, and you're filling each one of the back of those little train cars with smoke, right? So you're putting your drug into the entire bloodstream as it's going by, and it's doing it at an amazingly fast rate. You put dope in with a syringe, it kind of stays where it's at, and it goes around and it'll make a pass through the brain or whatever. But the fastest delivery time, where you're going to feel it the quickest, is the lungs. So cigarettes will take your dopamine level, will make up a number so that it's easy math, right? No math, hate math. Let's say your normal level is a 2. You take a hit of that Marlboro, and by the time you're blowing it out, your dopamine level's at 4. What on earth can do that for you that quickly? not much other than nicotine. So that is a very difficult thing to quit for a lot of people. But you can do, there's a lot of harm reduction stuff now for people that are trying to get off of nicotine, right? It is 2025. Don't light anything on fire and breathe it into your lungs. If you're a person that needs to continue to smoke weed, get a vape, eat it, do whatever. Lighting stuff on fire and breathing it into your lungs, we're too smart for that now. If you can't seem to quit smoking, vaping isn't going to go into your lungs at the heat that you're going to do sucking off of something that's on fire, right? Breathing smoke into your lungs is a little tougher on the body. But better than that, there are patches, there are lozenges, there's gum. There's so many ways to get nicotine into your body. So if you have to do it in a harm reduction fashion, don't beat the crap out of yourself. Just do harm reduction. You can start off on lozenges that are 10 milligrams and go down to 5, go down to 250. It's one of those things. There are, and I'm not trying to keep anybody in the game by any stretch, but there are a lot of people out there. Took me 5 years of nicotine lodges to get off of a dip. You know what? If you were dipping, drinking was your go-to, still functioning, but emotionally dead when I quit. If you don't mind me prying, how long have you been off of it? Because I had vicious anhedonia when I quit. If you were doing Copenhagen, in my experience, the hardest thing to kick on planet Earth is Copenhagen. There's so much nicotine, and it's vicious, and it's a stomach addiction because you're swallowing the stuff. Like when you're smoking heroin, it becomes a stomach addiction. Valerie Nagy, yes, you are. 5 years. I don't think it was 5 years for me. Lost again. One of the other options is if you're suffering of 5 years of feeling nothing, then you really need to talk to a doctor about it. And the reason I say that is because anhedonia can be caused by numerous things. But if your brain just simply is not releasing any of the chemicals, then you may need to take some stuff to sort of get that process kicked again. And there are things that you can take. If you just listen to the names of any of these, like even the antidepressants, these are selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, right? SSRIs. It's literally taking the chemicals you already have in your brain and allowing certain amounts to get in or not get in. There's a whole host of things that they can do for people who suffer with anhedonia. So I would talk to a professional about it. I'm a convicted felon and an ex-drug addict. But I would talk to a doctor because there is a lot that they can do for people now. I may have gone 5 years. Honestly, I don't remember exactly how long it took. But there's a whole host of things right now that they're doing. And there are some experiments that are going on in Israel with drugs that we already take in the United States at microscopic amounts instead of major amounts that just sort of kick the emotions back on. Copenhagen is a kind of chewing tobacco that is ground up almost to the point where it's like sand. And it has this flavor that's kind of like if you were to take a tortoise, right? The shell of them, dump a baby diaper in that, and then put it on the side of the road in a refrigerator, that you tie up in, say, the Texas heat for a week or two. That's kind of what the taste is. Just the most foul thing in the entire world. But it is a delivery system of nicotine that just gets a whole hell of a lot of it into your body. And it's very, very difficult for people to quit. I've worked with a lot of people who have tried to get off of everything. I can't think of a substance I haven't helped people with at one time or another. But the people that are trying to get off of cope struggle really hard to get off of Copenhagen. It's tough. Are you doing counseling? Because if not, you would be great. You know what? I don't. I spend a lot of time doing it for free. I could never charge to do it. During Desert Storm, some soldiers tried making booze out of methanol. Oh, no. Oh, God, yes. So methylated spirits. This is a thing in a lot of countries. They'll cut moonshine with it. Really, really bad stuff. Methylated spirits will kill you. It's really terrible stuff. It'll get you drunk. The closest they come to that in prison is hand sanitizer. I won't tell you the entire process of how to make it because I'm not trying to get anybody that sees this to make hand sanitizer booze. But if you get Monk, I appreciate that, man. If you get the right ingredients, you can dump them into hand sanitizer. It's salt, but there's more to it than that. But you dump salt into it, and the whole thing sort of, all the gel comes together. And what you're left with is alcohol. And guys drink that in the joint. I mean, literally, guys drink that in prison. And you could light it on fire. It's got about the same alcohol content as grain alcohol. It is the most foul stuff in the entire world. Yeah, I would absolutely talk to a doctor. Anhedonia is treatable. And if you had this question 10 years ago, I would have answered it differently. It would have been one of those, well, you just kind of have to ride it out until things get good. Yeah, you know what? Vaping isn't good for you either, but it's a hell of a lot better than breathing smoke into your lungs, right? Using a THC vape is a lot better than lighting something on fire and breathing it into your lungs. When you smoke anything that's rolled up, you're also smoking paper. And even if the paper is really good and it's expensive and it's rice and it doesn't have gum on it, like the thinnest paper in the world, the stuff that's really not hard on your lungs, is still hard on your lungs. It's just not good for you. So, and I don't know, like I can look at the demographics for the boat, no disrespect to anybody, but there's not a lot of 18-year-olds in here, right? We're sort of getting to that age where it's not a great thing. Yeah, you know what, Queen? I said the same thing. Queen Key says, I'm late, but I knew that he was going to get caught. He isn't a changed man. You know what? I don't believe he is either. And, people, I've gotten a couple of emails from people that say, you change. You can't believe someone else can. I wasn't trying to fix my trial, right? I didn't have a hit list of the people I wanted to threaten versus the people that, look, if you changed, then you go in there and you go like this, 50 months, I'm going to go do my bid, right? I'm just going to go lay it down and I'll be out of here in a little less than 3 years. Time off for good behavior. I don't do anything wrong. I do RDAP. Here's the money shot. I wanted to finish for all of you that stuck around till the end. This is not going to make it easier for him to get into the RDAP program. Meep, I can't answer that question. His son currently has some problems with a woman that worked on a boat. I believe her last name is O'Markey. He has been accused of doing exactly what his dad has done, that we know he has done to women. So we're going to have to see. That is moving forward as a civil case. It happens very often, especially with famous people. It doesn't happen as much with people that no one's ever heard of. But when someone famous has a lawsuit and the details of the lawsuit get leaked to People magazine or to any of these, you end up with people going, why the hell aren't you prosecuting him? And it puts a lot of pressure on elected officials. In a lot of places, prosecutors have to get elected, right? So it puts pressure on these people to bring cases. I think that there are prosecutors all over the United States right now that would love to prosecute Diddy, or any of his kids for that matter. I think that right now he is pretty much a pariah to everybody on planet Earth except Harvey Levin and his broadcast partner. No, I don't think he's hit rock bottom yet either. I'm telling you, he's just throwing money at this stuff. Chicken Cherry Cola, good to see you. He's just throwing one appeal after another at this, and there's no way to appeal what they did. They're literally just stealing money from him. They're stealing money from him. I promise you. Hey, Lovejoy. And the reason I say that is you have what the prosecution asks for. You have the pre-sentence report, right? And with that, you have the recommendation from parole and probation. The sentence that Arun Subramanian gave Diddy was at the lowest end of the spectrum and was right in line with what everybody said except for the defense, who said he should be able to walk out the door. He should just be able to walk out of this. Obviously, that's a no-brainer. They're not going to let the cat walk out the door. But I think that's Diddy pressuring his attorneys. I mean, these guys are federal pros. They didn't think for a hot second he was going to walk out that door. And the arrogance to come in and go, well, he's got a speaking engagement in Florida next Wednesday, Your Honor. You got to let him out. The word hubris comes to mind, right? And yeah, it just, hey, good to see you. It just makes everybody in society hate him. Aside from the fact that There's a video of this guy kicking a woman in the face and throwing a vase at her, punching her in the head. Like he was beating Cassie Ventura like she was a guy that owed him money. You know, that's going to be etched into the minds of, I think, everybody for a long time. And all of the people that send me emails and go, you wait, they're going to pardon him. And to do what? To destroy your party? I promise you, that's not how you get your party in the Oval Office in the next 4 years. You know, the party that comes out and goes, hey, we're going to let that rapist out. You know, the freak off guy. Yeah, let's see how that works. The other thing that is amazing about him is he flew out to New York in September, right? It was September, I think, when he ended up getting arrested. He knew he was going out there to get arrested. Now, his lawyers gave him the belief that he was going to get out on bond. But hello from New Jersey. Good to have you here, Karen. Thank you. I feel good tonight. Well, you know, I feel good. I'm still a little sore, but I'm doing better. I had yesterday I was really feeling it. I was hoping BlackRock would have thrown more weight around. Yeah, the Diddy's biggest problem is going to be trying to build a life when this is over. I don't see him bouncing back from this. I don't see him recovering from this. He has showed absolutely no remorse. He'll make a speech that says, I feel horrible. He doesn't feel horrible. None of his actions show that, right? It's amazing how often, you know, guys will actually go into court and say, I screwed up bad. You know, I made a huge mistake. This is it's an embarrassment for me. I'm going to go and do my time, and I'm going to put up with whatever I got to put up with. They weren't out of court 15 minutes, and this dude was already filing papers, right? How many times did he file to try to get out on bail? He has been desperate to run for as long as he can. What prison is Diddy in? He's at Fort Dix. He's not at the camp at Fort Dix. He's at the Federal Correction Institution, Fort Dix Low, technically. Thank you, Lost Again. That's very kind of you. But we'll see if he stays there. They're not going to let him. So, you know, at certain prisons, like if you're at Victorville, you have to stab somebody to get shipped off of the yard at Victorville. I'm not being funny. You have to, like, stabbing someone, compromising staff. If you get caught making wine, they're going to take you to the shoe. You're going to be out in 7 days to a month, and you're going to be staying right on the same yard because they just assume there's going to be crime going on there. Like, you could fail drug tests. You could fail 9, 10 drug tests in a row, and you're not going to leave Victorville because there's nowhere worse to send you, right? But it's a very different situation when you're at a cushy prison. They don't want to reward people that are acting stupid, and he's allegedly acted stupid within his first day of being there, first 2 days. Hey, Bill, good to see you. He needs to go to a gym. I go where their number one rule is no. Yeah, there you go. Except for the sweetheart that owns it. There you go. It would be a very good idea for him to try to figure out a new life, right? They really would have to, because Barbara Waite says, you have to possess a soul in order to have a dark night of the soul. Maybe he doesn't have one. You know, the entitlement thing is a real problem. Lovejoy's right. He feels like he's rich. He's a rock star, right? But they have set him up for failure like no other man, for real. If he manages to get through RDAP, and he won't, he's going to have so many different programs that he has to go to when he gets out. They're going to want him to do 90 Narcotics Anonymous or Alcoholics Anonymous meetings in your first 90 days out. They do that to everybody on federal paper. If your PSI shows that you had a drug problem, they want you to go once a day for the first 3 months. They also said in his papers that he's not allowed at any level. He is not allowed to be in a position where he manages the career of anyone. What the hell is Diddy going to do if he cannot manage the career of people? That's what Diddy does. So he's not going to be able to do music deals. He's not going to be able to put things together. And he thinks he's going to fly around the world and make speeches. Good luck with that. Let me know how that works out. You have to put a request to travel in 2 weeks before you're going to go, and then they'll shoot down half of them. You know, I wasn't allowed to go to my father's funeral, and I was on the street. I just wasn't allowed to travel to. Where's Jay-Z? He should be arrested also. Well, we will see. I tell you what, people, and this is listen up very carefully, because this is an opinion and I don't want it to come across as anything other than that, right? I'm not, but I think that as we continue to see these things unravel, we're going to find out that the Jeffrey Epsteins and the Andrew Mountbatten Windsors, all of these people ran in the same circle. I think that this is going to be one of those things where when they start to pull the string, this is going to unravel in so many different ways. I've said it before, and I will say it again. Valerie Nagy, you are home. I will say this again. It's a frightening concept to me that there are people that still believe someone's going to stand up for this cat and allow him to walk free. There will be, I mean, literally, the backlash from that would be unbelievable, especially in light of the fact that this White House hasn't released the Epstein papers. This would be a very dangerous move. There's no chance of that. And speaking of dangerous, Ghislaine Maxwell is the most dangerous human being on planet Earth. I believe that. So the research I've done, and I'm telling you, this isn't an opinion, she started the Clinton Global Initiative. Clinton spent a lot of time on Epstein's planes, and I make no mistake, that guy's a dirtbag. But he wasn't always flying for the purpose of going to to this spot for pedophilia or another spot for pedophilia. He was flying all over Africa where people were handing him wheelbarrows full of money, buying access to Hillary Clinton when she was Secretary of State by giving money to Bill Clinton. It's these aren't even things that can be debated anymore, right? Ghislaine Maxwell even came out and said it. Yeah, I was absolutely instrumental in forming the Clinton Global Initiative. She's the most dangerous person on earth right now. And that just happens to be a fact. And I don't know if you guys heard, but allegedly an old cellmate, one of the last guys that ever lived with Epstein, said that Epstein, you can look this up, this broke yesterday. Now, I don't know, man. Guy's a convict. He could just be trying to sell a story. He could have a political leaning. Who knows? But he said that Epstein told him that they said, you can walk out of here. We just need you to say that one person in particular was involved with you. But I figure Epstein probably thought he was going to walk out of there anyway, right? I don't think Epstein was scared. He went to Florida, got busted. And not only did he get to walk, but they said, we won't even prosecute any of your friends, known or unknown. And we'll let you do weekends. He didn't think he was going to disappear for any length of time. He had too much dirt on too many people, right? Just the way it is. Oh, yeah. When he was governor, he let planes fly blow into Arkansas. You damn right he did. You damn right he did. I don't know that Epstein's alive. I know that there are a lot of people who think that Epstein is still alive. I don't know that I'm ready to go there. He was a very dangerous guy, and he was a sick man. He was, by all accounts, this guy was just a rampant creep. 2,000 victims. Got any idea how prolific you got to be at hurting people to get 2,000 victims? It's absolutely terrifying to me. And I think, you got to burn a bridge, because that bridge led to Ehud Barak. It led to the president of the United States, right? You got a picture of Bill Clinton in your living room. This dude led to way too many people. I think he was, I don't think he's a guy they would let live. How do you keep him under wraps? He's going to continue to do the same stuff that he does. And what I think is frightening, you read Virginia Giuffre's book, and the takeaway for me is, I don't think that this stopped, right? They may have moved islands, but there are still very powerful people that are taking advantage of women because or girls because they're from the wrong side of the track, and they don't have a, they don't have the resources to go and fight. So they're going to take advantage of it. Do you think he did this so he would be moved to another prison? Did he? No, I think he wanted to get drunk. That's what I think happened with Diddy. Yes, One Nation Under Blackmail. Yes, I have read it. It's a fantastic book. And I think that we're in a very unique place. Yeah, we're in a very unique place right now as a world. As much as they're trying to keep a lid on all of this, we have to do a lot of critical thinking, right? The Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, the former Prince Andrew, they are Yeah, I don't think Diddy was. I don't think Diddy was trying to get moved to another yard. I think you spend 15, 16 months sober, and you're a guy that did a whole lot of drinking and a whole lot of partying. Look, man, I'm not going to lie to anybody here. The first time I hit a yard, I wanted to know where the drugs and the booze was, and that's usually what most people do. And by all accounts, this is a yard that's got a lot of booze and a lot of drugs. So they may have. The whole trans-segging thing, I don't know how the shoe system works there. It's very odd in some prisons. You can have 3 prisons and only one will have a segregated housing unit. You'll have inmates from the camp and inmates from the FCI and inmates from the USP that are all in the hole in the segregated housing unit in one prison. There's a lot of places that do that. They won't have you on the same tier because they don't want the guys from the USP corrupting the other people. Meeb says Clinton even flew to Colombia to see the cola processing. You know what? I will look into that one. I've never come across that in research. It doesn't mean it didn't happen, though. It absolutely does not mean it didn't happen. All right, people. I would sit around and chop it up with you a little bit more, but my eyes aren't working very well anymore right now either. But I have an appointment with a restaurant down the street. I'm having some really good pasta this evening. If I get there too late, he might lock me out. But all right, people, between now and the next time I see you, which will probably be tomorrow night, put a little love in your heart. And if you're somebody that is struggling with addiction, go back and watch. I'm not tooting my own horn at all, but I promise you, I've read more about getting. Hey, you know what, Nebulizer? I'm glad that you were here, and I'm glad that everyone had a chance to say hi. Hello, Karen. Appreciate that. I really do, man. I really do. So, yeah, go back and watch it. I've read a lot of books on sobriety, put a lot of time into that. It's probably what I've spent more time in my life working on than anything else. And every one of those tools will keep you, it'll keep you on the wagon, so to speak, right? Keep you on the wagons. I promise you it's a happier place to be anyway. For always for love, forever for love. Congratulations again. I'm so happy for you, and to everybody staying sober. What a great day, man. This has been a really, really cool show. I'm not going to be late for pasta. This is pasta carbonara. He makes the best pasta carbonara on planet Earth. And his name is Luigi, and he makes me laugh. He's a really good dude. All right, people. Between now and the next time I see you, put a little love in your heart. I'm Tommy. We'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.